So just imagine you, President Trump, you wake up this morning and live on video, there's a death threat against you. Oh no, it happened. And he's going to react to it, I assure you of that. And you'll never imagine who it was from. But if that wasn't enough, just imagine that within a couple weeks, you're going to have 45 million Americans against you. Because you're going to be blamed for something that is no fault of anything you did. And don't think the Democrats don't know this. Don't think they don't understand why this shutdown that they're allowing to drag on won't have, well, rather dire consequences for those 45 million Americans. Have you pieced it together yet? Oh, the No Kings protest was just a portion of it. And they gave away the game yesterday. And that's a story I'll bring you in just 1 minute. Oh, the Dems think they're having all kinds of fun, don't they? You see, they want to shut down. They like to shut down all day. They say they don't. Because they want a crisis. A larger crisis. And that was readily apparent yesterday by the reactions we received. I'm going to go through those. But first, because yesterday we didn't cover the HuffPost, but today I will. Demolition Man. Trump takes axe to White House. Because this is the most important story out there right now. That Trump, who's getting ready to build his ballroom, obviously has to have it connected to the White House, which means you'll have to do a little demolition, which would be normal. But this is coming from the same publication. This is a hard-hitting title. Fake Melania Trump's Late Show chat goes off the rails after Epstein mention. A skit that didn't have Melania in it on the Late Show goes off the rails because it was a skit, just so they could throw Epstein mention in the title. So we probably don't want to take them too seriously, because we're going to focus on Trump's ballroom rather than Obama's presidential eyesore. That's it for those of you who haven't seen it. Doesn't it remind you of something? It reminds me of that. Before we get serious in today's broadcast, but many people seem to agree with me. It's the single ugliest building that I've seen built in my 58 years of life. Reminiscent of a Cold War communist bloc, dull drab architecture with no character, perfect tribute to Obama's ideology. A monumental ego? Shouldn't that money be better used for poor and homeless? But wait now, because that goes to the heart of our story. Shouldn't all this money go towards poor and homeless? But that's really not what the Democrats care about, is it? No, they don't care about you. And those folks in Hollywood don't care about you. No, they like to virtue signal about this No Kings protest. Did you see Alyssa Milano? Look at those nails, huh? No Kings, but there was many of them yesterday. Mariska Hargitay, which I'll never pronounce right, because I don't care to pronounce right. So many of them are focused on No Kings, but if you read the comments next to it, it appears that not many agree with them, because not many do, because it's a show. There's a lot of people in those crowds that are paid protesters, paid organizers. But why all of a sudden are all these Hollywood types coming out and supporting it? Because if you read the comments, tell me you're brainwashed by propaganda without telling me you're brainwashed by propaganda. Trump was elected. He's not a king. He was elected president. Goodness, I really wish you could have a helpful voice during this time. So disappointing. See, it appears that nobody actually supports what any of them are saying. Go through the list of Ben Stiller, Glenn Close, disturbing as that is, Molly Ringwald, Jamie Lee Curtis, Mark Ruffalo, and Spike Lee. Everyone trying to make you believe that the No Kings protest was so powerful, so important, because they need it to be. They need to make everyone believe that there's energy behind their movement. They need them to believe there's actually a movement, and there isn't. But there could be. It just needs something to trip it off. We've seen that in the past, haven't we? One event trips it off. And I've warned of this one event for some time now. Until yesterday, I guess I didn't fully realize what event could be coming up that could trip it off. But then my least favorite mayor helps me out. Oh, in just a second, you're going to hear all from Mayor Brandon Johnson, who can't keep his mouth shut. And it appears he's becoming more energetic recently. And in his energy, as he's given more scripted talking points, he's giving away the game even further. But first, let's go to one of my least favorite politicians, Jamie Ratskin.
In Philadelphia, does what you saw support the argument that this was a hate America rally?
No, on the contrary, it was, of course, totally positive, totally patriotic, and totally supportive of us getting the American government back in business again, reopening and supporting the healthcare of the American people.
Supporting the healthcare of the American people. They seem to continue to miss the point, don't they? Because it's actually about healthcare, not for the American people, that the Republicans are concerned about. Mostly peaceful. Nothing to see here. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Fuck Trump. Fuck.
Absurdity, right? None of it should make sense to you. It's not meant to make sense to you. It's meant to make an impression to those who don't understand what's going on, to those who don't understand who's funding it and why they're funding it and what they're pushing towards. And it's what I've worked so hard to educate you towards. Because then you'll understand the end game, which we haven't even gotten to yet. Not the death threat against Trump. And not 45 million Americans are going to be led to believe that Trump is responsible for their very hunger. So much to cover. Before I do, I want to give everyone a special thanks again. The channel continues to explode as we continue to try to just keep the news very black and white and the simplest concepts possible, because news and government wants to keep everything complex. They want it to appear to be complex, but it actually isn't. It never is. It's very black and white if you just look at the facts. And you're responding to that. And thank you. And you're helping me by beating the algorithm, by simply assuring your bell is always checked all, by helping me to share the videos, by putting comments, by joining as a member. All the means of supporting me to keep these lights and cameras on, by going to Restricted Republic, by following my podcast, that is our home news platform, and by supporting someone. This is absolutely incredible. This company, Chapter, has been an absolute phenomenon. I can't tell you the amount of comments I've gotten, and hearing from Chapter directly, the amount of you that have called them. A free phone call, 805-619-5011. Why is this so important right now? It is open enrollment, October 15th to December 7th. You see, if you have a loved one or you're someone looking for Medicare, right now you are bombarded with mailers, robocallers. It's a time of year. Everyone's pushing their plan. But be careful who you're talking to, because often that plan that they're pushing, they benefit from. Not you. Chapter's different, though. Chapter knows how to search for all the options in your area, and sometimes under 20 minutes. The average person who calls them saves $1,100 a year. Remember, right now, if you don't check with them, doctors go away, plans disappear. Things change if you don't ask some questions, and that's what Chapter does for you. It's a free phone call, and they're not there to steer you to plans that make them money. They're there to steer you to the best plan for you. You make the decision. 805-619-5011. Free phone call. Average person, $1,100 in under 20 minutes. That's the best phone call you're going to make today. Don't wait until the last minute. Make sure you call them ahead of time. Call them today. It helps me, and it will help you by simply calling 805-619-5011. I can tell you by the testimonials and the comments I receive that phone call is working for a ton of people, and I know it will work for you. And this is something I could say with a great deal of confidence. Give Chapter a call today before it is too late. Remember, Medicare annual enrollment is right now. You or a loved one needs help? Call Chapter. But now let's get back to this video. So where were we? We are on the Soros getting ready for a showdown against Trump administration. Why is Soros so dead set on funding things that go against Trump? Because he hates Western government, he hates President Trump, and he hates you and I. He doesn't want our freedoms. He doesn't care about them. That's why he's preparing for battle with the Trump administration. As threats from the administration mount, George and Alex Soros are giving out as many grants as ever. Alex Soros, the 39-year-old son of Hungarian billionaire and husband to Democrat strategist. Oh, wait now. Man, he sides with the Democrats. I know I've told you this before. Open Society is on track to hand out $1.4 billion this year. Oh, they were one of the ones who helped out No Kings, and it should all start to make sense. George Soros also gave $10 million to the Democrat campaign to redraw California's congressional map. You see, all he wants is Democrat society. He doesn't want Western government, and he wants Trump out of the way. Which brings us back to No Kings, which brings us back to this movement, which brings us back to the end game. Because there's a lot of folks within the crowd at No Kings. Groups like Rise and Resist. How do we know this? Because they wore vests that said, Rise and Resist. Organized, paid protesters. One young gentleman who did an amazing job, Nate Friedman here, shows you specifically how organized and paid these folks are by pointing out just one individual there right next to him. You see the lady with the short hair. Watch here for one moment.
You see her? She works with Karen Shaw, the kazoo lady from the previous No Kings rally. This is her making the signs for Rise and Resist in their little print shop. She protests whatever is on the schedule. Back again in front of the courthouse asking to abolish ICE. She wants to, quote, free them all, and she's doing this sit-in again inside of Trump's family home.
You see, paid protesting, funded by George Soros, pushing the No Kings movement, making it appear bigger than it is so that people believe there's actually a movement. The Democrats are rising up. But rise up. Rise up. What does that mean exactly? Well, it depends on who you listen to now, doesn't it? Listen to what Don Lemon, what it means to rise up.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
Well, I think he made his position pretty clear. That was Don Lemon's position. Now I wonder what Mayor Brandon Johnson's position is. Well, I'm pretty sure you know how this clip's going to go.
If my ancestors as slaves can lead the greatest general strike in the history of this country, taking it to the ultra-rich and big corporations, we can do the same today. We are going to make them pay their fair share in taxes to fund our schools, to fund jobs, to fund healthcare, to fund transportations. Democracy will live on because
Democracy, democracy, democracy. Give me your money. Pay for everything. That's all Mayor Brandon Johnson wants. And if you don't give it to me, remember, you heard him. Started off. Descended from slaves. That's what he has to drop in there because he's trying to get everybody riled up. The No Kings protest to get everybody riled up, but they don't have that igniting moment yet. Oh, they're desperately trying to get it, which should actually terrify everyone. Don Lemon saying, get your gun. Get your gun. Not concerned about that? Next, you're going to say that somebody's declaring war on you, right?
The president of the United States of America declared war on the city of Chicago. And in fact, he's declared war on working people across this country.
And there you got it. Wow, it's getting closer, huh? So what now could they hold in their cards? What else could possibly upset the masses? So you're taking the big cities. You have President Trump who's trying to clean up the big cities and get those here illegally out of the country. Fighting against paying health care for those here illegally in this country. Because we need funds to pay for those here legally in this country so that they can eat. Maybe get them homes if they need it, which would make sense, right? But there's a flaw in the Democrats' plan that they're going to exploit against President Trump. Because eventually these changes are going to hit people where it really hurts. Food. And it's not that far away. The inherent threat of socialist programs rests in the fact that they can be used by a political party or a politician as a means to bribe voters from certain demographics to support destructive policies in exchange for handouts. This was written by Tyler Durden. Zero Hedge, amazing article. They've done this in the past, primarily to secure votes of minorities and people under the poverty line in the U.S. for Democrats. They did this under the Great Society program of Lyndon B. Johnson in 1960. They incentivized black women for every baby, as long as a man wasn't involved, by taxpayer-funded subsidies. And so what happened? The welfare system lured these women in, single mothers, gave them incentives, and all of a sudden the percentage started to skyrocket. Single mother households in black communities skyrocketed from 20% in 1960 to 65% in 2024. That's the impact of these programs. And you have Zohran Mamdani in New York who believes in these sort of programs. And you have Robert De Niro yesterday who comes out and says, I'm thinking I kind of like this guy. Yeah. Back to Hollywood. Prop mouthpieces. But then, all of a sudden, the welfare system fell out. It was just replaced, though, by DEI. Some could even argue that DEI was reparations. Think about that statement for a moment. DEI gave black women preferential treatment across and access to the job markets. And in exchange, they gave subsidies to corporations. Funded a 103% jump in black female employment in white-collar jobs from 2010 to 2024. The problem is, some would argue that these jobs weren't given on ability, but rather racial identity. So what does Trump do? He comes in and removes these programs and removes the funding. Suddenly the jobs disappear, and you have a catastrophe. The women that relied on this for so long now are out of jobs, and we're seeing it in the numbers. Over 300,000 black women who have reportedly lost their jobs since February. The black female unemployment rate has spiked to nearly 7%. And so what do they rely on then? To eat, to feed their families. EBT benefits, SNAP benefits. The percentage of black households on SNAP benefits in 2024 was around 25% compared to 8% of white households. Approximately 1.3 million of these families are slated to lose the benefits this quarter. If the government shutdown continues into November and the program runs out of money. But the number's higher than that. Remember, there has to be a trigger point. The number's much larger. And this change caused a panic among recipients who complained that they are required to apply for or hold a job in order to get benefits back. And that is the new rules. But the government wouldn't just pull this back, right? They already are. Because they're running out of funding.
Government shutdown continues. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has announced a hold on SNAP benefits for the month of November. Fox 43's Matt Klein.
The federal government telling states not to send out November SNAP benefits. Here's the email I just got from the USDA. So here's the letter that the USDA sent us. You can see it's dated for October 10th. That was last Friday. Why am I now getting it today, Wednesday, the 15th? Well, it's because I did a story on SNAP benefit changes that are coming November 1st. I did that story yesterday.
So Democrats who are prioritizing giving health care to those here illegally are not prioritizing EBT food program SNAP benefits to those here legally. So does that mean you're going to allow how many people to go hungry so that you can secure health care for those here illegally? And then you'll have your crisis that you can blame President Trump on? What are the chances of a food stamp collapse in November? Higher than you think. In 2025, around 42 million people have tapped into federal SNAP benefits, which amount to 12% of the population. That number is growing. I can test it as 45 million because the unemployment rate within that demographic I showed you prior is continuing to escalate. And with government layoffs, it will escalate even further That's why I put the number at 45 million, not 42 million. More than enough people to create chaos should they be politically weaponized to do so. Their triggering event. It really depends on Democrats. A number of economists are warning that the nation's largest anti-hunger program has a contingency fund of about $6 billion. The problem is it has to pay out $8 billion to stay fluid, to stay solvent. And they don't have that money. Could President Trump step in and fund it? He may not have a choice. Because if he doesn't, the Democrats will say, Orange Man bad. He's making 45 million people starve. You see the bigger plan now? No King's Rally, rile people up, make a movement appear bigger than it is, make it appear we actually have a movement, say Trump's at war at all the big cities. In all the big cities, which many of these are minority populations, the same populations that are about to lose their EBT SNAP benefits. Now you see? I hope it makes a little bit more sense what they're doing. And George Soros is ready to fight back. But if that wasn't enough for President Trump to wake up to, he's still fighting the drug cartels. And I covered this for you yesterday. And I warned you that Colombia, which you know I focused on, over Maduro, because Colombia is a bigger concern to me than Maduro. And yesterday, Colombia kind of took a back seat. That was yesterday. Now they threw themselves right in the mix. It was my great honor to destroy a very large drug-carrying submarine. You saw the tape of it. You'll see the tape of it here. Unclassified now. The two survivors, were they brought into the United States and held as enemy combatants? No, that's not what President Trump did. After he destroys this submarine here in just a few seconds. There you go. No, he takes the two survivors and he sends them back to their home countries. Orange Man bad. At least that's what the media wants you to believe. And here was the question the mainstream media gave him.
The Colombian president says that the U.S. killed an innocent Colombian fisherman in one of the strikes.
He said that when we shot down a submarine, that they were just fishing. This is a submarine. This was a submarine that was meant, by the way, this was a submarine that was meant for one reason and made for one reason, to carry massive amounts of drugs. Yeah, go ahead.
Because a submarine is suddenly now a fishing vessel. A little bit distracting, huh? That's why we don't listen to the mainstream media here. But then President Trump had some cross words for President Gustavo Petro of Colombia, calling him an illegal drug leader, strongly encouraging the massive production of drugs in the big and small fields all over Colombia. It has become the biggest business in Colombia by far, and Petro does nothing to stop it. Despite large-scale payments and subsidies from the USA, that's nothing more than a long-term ripoff of America as of today. Ouch. These payments, or other forms of payments or subsidies, will no longer be made to Colombia. The purpose of this drug production is the sale of massive amounts of product into the U.S., causing death, destruction, and havoc. Petro, a low-rated and very unpopular leader, with a fresh mouth towards America, better close up these killing fields immediately, or the United States will close them up for him. And it won't be done nicely. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And the left seizes up. They're not used to a president who talks like this, one who takes action. So now, Colombia enters the argument. And yesterday, did you expect the president of Colombia to be cooperative? No. The death threat is made. In an interview on Univision, he says the words that you may not want to exactly say to President Trump because you pretty much just out and out declared war on your country. Big mistake, my friend. Here is the closing segment of this interview. You'll have to read the subtitles.
Su misión no es cambiar a Trump. No. Su misión es buscar la mejor negociación posible para los millones de colombianos que dependen de esos empleos y de esa economía.
La humanidad tiene una primera salida y es cambiar a Trump. De diversas maneras. Puede ser por el mismo Trump, la más fácil. Si no, sácala a Trump.
And those are words you cannot pull back from. So as Trump faces off against what could be the loss of nearly 45 million SNAP benefits for Americans because Democrats are continuing to try to fund health care for those here illegally in the country. He's facing off against some of the most dangerous criminal leaders in the entire world. How would you like to wake up to that this morning? Do you think he loses any sleep? I guess all in a hard day's work, huh? Oh, in the midst of it, though, he's building a ballroom. It's a job that not many people can stand up to. So the question to you is, what is the end game? Are the Democrats looking for an ignition event? Are they looking for that mass protest? Are they looking for that incendiary point that ignites their base because they've shown no leadership to get reaction based on anything else? Yes or no? I look forward to your opinions. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.